all our words are going to be primarily in terms of the product and the marketing budget and the marketing and the mistakes, but the subtext is going to be about the different political factions we're part of and whether we're supporting our factions.
Right.
And similarly in politics, we are going to talk about whether the nation needs to get over the COVID lockdown or whether the death rate is way too high and we couldn't possibly do that. But the subtext will be about who are our political allies and what do they think, and will they think we're supporting them by what we say.
That's why I was so fascinated with the whole mask phenomena, to see how there was a moment in the beginning, about a year ago now, this is March 2021. So a year ago, it was unclear how masks were going to be politicized.
Well, it was clear initially that the experts had their previous stance, which is that masks weren't a big deal and they shouldn't be overemphasized.
Right.
The experts also had this thing that travel restrictions were also not a good idea and shouldn't be overemphasized. And then, interestingly, a lot of elites got together and talked about that and said, no. Travel restrictions make sense and masks make sense.
Right.
They said out the word and all the experts suddenly changed their mind to adopt what the
I think that was the beginning of me when I sort of reconnected to your book and wondering how much institutional rot, how many of these lies have made, I don't know, the fact that they told us the science definitely says masks aren't useful. The Surgeon General said this, Fauci said this, and then suddenly they switched without any explanation for why they switched. They almost admitted that they lied to us because... They
did, in essence, admit that they lied, but in some sense, people didn't care.
Yeah, it just kind of slipped under the radar. I mean, obviously, the media is complicit in not making that the headline story. They flip-flopped on the science. Can we trust science? It's if you're not someone who reads a lot of science, then you kind of just rely on whether the experts tell you this or that. And if they flip-flop...
the most fundamental thing is each of us wants to take the position that our side is taking.
Right.
So if our side is pro-mask, then we want to be pro-mask. And if our side previously was anti-mask and that looks embarrassing for us, then we don't want to point that out.
Sure. Yeah, so the other side is always happy to point out your contradictions, but you're never going to point out
Right, but you can ignore when they point that out. If you control the media, say, or what people are saying, then you can just, slip past something and ignore something that's an awkward point that the other side can make.
Yeah. And it's interesting, so my fiance, who's normally joining us, she's recording something today, though. So she's from Turkey. She came here about 5 years ago. And it's just funny to get an inside view of Turkish politics, reading it in Turkish and having her family tell us stuff, and versus here, and to see how certain issues are, kind of propagate through society differently there. And masks were not politicized at all there. It's just wear a mask. Of course, people are lazy about it. It's hanging down below their nose or whatever. But it's not if you wear a mask, it's a signal. Whereas I feel here, if I walked into a convenience store a month ago, just accidentally forgot to put on my mask. And then all of a sudden I felt like I was naked, those dreams where, because I know of what a signal, somebody would just immediately assume I'm some right-wing nut. But meanwhile, it's just in my pocket, give me a second, hold on.
So the pandemic exasperates this because, in a pandemic, like in any crisis, it's a shared crisis. We socialize it, that is, does have social elements in the sense that the way some people deal with it affects how other people's outcomes are. Mm-hmm. So in a crisis that's seen as a social thing, then basically every society wants to form a consensus about what we should all be doing, and then each be doing the thing we're supposed to be doing so that we can all show that we're showing our support for dealing with the crisis.
Yeah.
And that's why often, we each aren't that picky about what the thing we all do is.
Yeah.
But we're more picky that we show our allegiance to the thing we're all supposed to doing, and then, of course, showing our allegiance to enforcing the thing we're all supposed to do. So, but different societies in different contexts will just pick different things. Mm-hmm. That is the thing you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
You see, and that's the thing that it varies around the world in the pandemic, and it varies through history. But in any one place, in any one crisis, you have to kind of pretend that, we're sure that this is the right thing to be doing.
Yeah.
Even if other people in other places and times do other things, we all know this is the thing to do. And I'm showing my loyalty to us in doing the thing you're supposed to do here. And people who say, no, the thing we're all saying we're supposed to be doing is wrong, are seen as not loyal to us.
Right. No matter
even if they're right, of course, even if they offer evidence, all the more reason if they offer evidence, you were just supposed to hear my rebuttal, my, disapproval of you and stop and be ashamed and go hide. You weren't supposed to come back with more arguments. That's just showing more defiance.
Yeah. And like, again, I get that on the personal level. It makes sense. I've seen that my whole life where people, in arguments personally, showing data rarely is the thing that changes someone's mind. But you would think at the institutional level that we would be able to, design these things to spot, lies that or outcomes that aren't doing what we say we're doing, whether it's charity and not being effective.
That's the key thing to know about our institutions. They are not that much designed to overcome our individual faults. They're designed to support them and exasperate them even. So one thing, say,